Now, dear friends, after finalizing your abstract, now you have to draft the introductory portion. And you should understand that drafting these elements should not be in a sequential way. You can do it at any time. But in the structure of the research report, after the abstract portion, you should write the introductory part. And it is a very troubling, how to write the introductory part. It's a very troubling question for the young researchers. And how much space we can devote for the introductory part. It's another important question. And the answer for this question purely depends upon the problem or the nature of the issue you are addressing in your research paper. If it is a very new thing, you have to spend more space for introductory part in order to give the background information of all those things. Okay, the another thing is you have to go through the back volumes of the journal to which you are going to send the paper, because every journal has got a culture. And journals are available in different domains, in accounting and finance, in marketing, in HRM, in operations. So in specific fields, journals are available. Each journal has got a culture. So here you have to go to the back volumes of the journal to understand the drafting portion of the introductory part. But irrespective of the journal or irrespective of the problem you are addressing, you have to give 2-3 very important things in the introductory part. And the very first thing is you have to establish a general territory. That means you have to make some general statement as some acceptable statements in the very introductory part. You have to bring out the importance of your subject in the very introductory part. For example, in the earlier example, we were talking about bank mergers. So regarding the bank mergers, I can make a general statement. India is moving from a country of large number of small banks to a country of small number of large banks because of the bank consolidation. So it is a general statement. So like that, you have to make general statement and you have to bring out the importance of your subject, your area. Next, you have to come to very specific things. You have to establish your own territory. That means you have to bring out the research gap, or you can formulate a problem, or you can oppose some general assumptions, or you can oppose the general assumptions you have made in the very introductory part. So that means you are coming to a very specific territory, from general to specific. So how to write specific means you have to give your particular research problem or the research gap, or how you should oppose a general assumption. Like that, you can be very specific. And after that, say for example in the third paragraph, you should write how you are going to address these things. You have to sketch the characteristics of your particular work in the third paragraph. Also, you can give the structure. You can give the structure of your research paper. That means in what way you are proceeding with this paper. That we can give in the third paragraph. So the idea is that from a general territory you have to come to a specific territory, and you should sketch the important characteristics of your work, how your work will be different from the other work, or what you are going to do. All those things you can give in the third section. The idea is that after the introductory part, the very purpose of the introductory part is to lead the reader or to lead our audience from a general territory to a specific territory. So that is the purpose of the introductory part. After drafting the introductory part, now we come to the review of literature part. According to the King's model, the review of literature part is not given in the structure of the report, but we know that in the commerce and management research domain, review of literature has a lot of importance. And I know that you had a separate session on review of literature, so I'm not going to the details of review of literature, but you should understand that the review of literature should be very comprehensive. Review should be there in a paper. If your paper does not have the review of literature portion, even if you have a good methodology, good problem, there are chances that your paper will get rejected. So definitely you should do a very comprehensive literature survey. If a good literature review is given in the research paper, the readers can understand that which are the very important recognized journals or publications in this particular field of study, and they can also know who are the experts. It will help the readers to define the terms, to understand the assumptions and the foundation on which you have built your study. So all those things the readers can understand from the review of literature portion, and it is very important. And you should consider one very important thing while giving the review of literature. You should try to avoid very local or the journals that are not recognized. You should give articles from recognized journals. Then your literature portion or your study will become more convincing. If you refer some dubious or not recognized publications, it will reduce the quality of your work. So give recognized citations or from recognized journals, so that will increase the value of your paper. So after the introductory part, now you have to draft the review of literature part. So that will help the readers to understand the context of the problem you are addressing. That is very important. Now, after the drafting of the review of literature, now we come to the discussions and the conclusions according to the King's model. But we know that we have to give our research methodology and the results before coming to the discussion area. So after review of literature, you have to give the methodology part. I understand that you had a separate session on the research methodology, and you have to give the methodology in the research paper. You can give the population, the sampling size, the sampling technique, and the statistical techniques you have used, your limitations, your hypothesis. All those things you can give in the methodology part. And also you should give the justification for using a particular kind of methodology. If you are using a panel regression, you have to justify it. Because of these characteristics, you are using this particular statistical technique. That you should include. And after that, after the methodology, definitely the results will be there. More than the results, you should focus more on the discussion portion. That is very important. While attempting the study, you had an expectation, okay, and whether your results are in tune with your expectation, and what is your expected outcome, and how your results are different from the expected outcome, and did you find anything unusual? And you should be able to explain those unusual results also while discussing the results of your research. That is very important. And you know that there must be some research, there must be some previous research in this field, and you have to correlate or you have to relate your research findings with the previous research works. That is also very important. Okay, and my suggestion is that you should give maximum discussion in the research paper after presenting your results, and your results will be some value. In most of the paper, people write since the p-value is less than this much, this null hypothesis rejected or accepted. Those things should be there, but you have to give maximum explanation in the discussion portion. And you should also understand that there is no significant difference does not mean that there is no difference. So like that you have to give maximum explanation in the discussion points, and there should be logic in your discussion, because you have to present the discussion portion in an orderly and focused manner. There should be logic. To put it simply, you have to use the results in a logical way. That is very important. Now we come to the conclusion part. After a lot of deliberations on the research findings, in the conclusion part, you have to state the major findings of the study. And more than stating the major findings of your study, you have to explain the importance of your findings. In the very initial part, you must have included the importance of your study, why you are attempting this particular study. You must have included that portion in the very introductory part. In the conclusion part, you got some findings. You have to explain the importance of those findings and how how your findings are related to the previous findings. That is very important. And you can also include your major limitations of your study in the conclusion part. And the very important thing is, another very important thing is, you have to give some recommendations of future research, some recommendations for a policy makers also in the conclusion part. And you should also remember that you should not give more than three suggestions or scope for further studies. You can limit into 2 or 3 very important suggestions in the conclusion part. And after the conclusion part, definitely the bibliography, the reference part will be there. We know that in social science research, we follow APA style. So I'm not going to the details of APA style. So these are the very basics of a research paper. While drafting, I think you got a foundation for drafting a research paper, and I wish that those who have not attempted a research paper should attempt a research paper after attending this webinar. You should try to convert your research work into a research paper, a formal research paper, and you should submit to a reputed journal. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.